Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Process, a behind the scenes look at the making of Dominion Fall of the House of Saul, dropping on shelves in digital August of 2020. This week, we will be discussing the Seraphim, the elite soldiers of the Dominion Army. One thing I used to love when I was younger was watching cartoons, and back then it was like Robotech or Voltron, these gigantic robots that were piloted by these crack soldiers in a military. And I was thinking when I was doing the design for the Dominion soldiers, I'm like, well, why not have them be in power armor and mechs? And, there's no rhyme or reason. Why not? I mean, if this is a story that I'm coming up with out of my head based on these wonderful events in the Bible, why not, indulge my imagination a little? So who are the Seraphim? Well, in the Bible, the Seraphim were or I guess you can say still are, the highest level of angels. They sit at the feet of God. They worship Him. They are very powerful and altogether just pure. They're known as the burning ones. When I wanted to create an elite fighting force, I wanted the elite, the top. The Seraphim are pilots that drive these gigantic suits of power armor. And just like the Seraphim in the Bible, they're strong, they're fast, they're mighty, and completely dedicated to service. In the Dominion Army, there are 6 Seraphim soldiers, but there are 7 power armor available for use. The last one, or I guess you can say the first one, is dedicated to only the use of the king. And it is the most powerful of all the Seraphim power armor. It's funny, while it looks cool and everything, it has to be functional. And as a matter of fact, I got a question on Twitter from Brim, one of the followers, and he was like, well, how does it work? How do they actually pilot this thing? It doesn't look like it doesn't make sense. And that was a really good question. It kind of made me have to go back and say, okay, well, I know how it works, but I need to communicate that to the viewer to make it make sense so we don't lose immersion. So basically, if you think of the Seraphim power armor, it's really kind of like a cockpit. It's almost like he's driving a ship, flying a ship. He or she, Naomi's one of the Seraphim, will sit in a seat. And it's almost kind of like you're straddling a middle console, almost kind of like a motorcycle. And they will plug themselves into a neural interface. So basically, their arms and their legs, they're not positioned like you would put on a coat or pants. They're pretty much kind of isolated in the middle section of the mech. And all the impulses and movements and everything else is basically impulses from their brain, allowing them to make all sorts of movements and decisions extremely rapidly, because the brain is the fastest computer. Now, the regular Dominion soldier is actually augmented. They have a power suit, but it's almost kind of like an exoskeleton. But in comparison to the Seraphim, they're much weaker. As a matter of fact, the Seraphim are 50 times stronger and faster than the average Dominion regular soldier. So when you're building a world, a fantasy or sci-fi world, you have to consider culture and the overall look of that particular race of people. And for the Dominion, it shows their design style to be much more of a fluid, organic style. with a lot of curves and circles and soft shapes. So the power armor is almost kind of like an extension of the human form, but much larger and augmented. The design process was fairly simple. After the initial blue sketch drawing, my inker Hunter came in and tightened up the design with a nice solid black line. When Hunter was finished, then we handed off the design to Chris, our colorist, who really came in and helped me to determine, okay, well, what is the overall color style of this power armor? Every core team has to have some signature colors. I wasn't sure at the time what those colors would be, so I let him kind of experiment. And then after a first pass, I would give him some notes, and then we kind of solidified our overall look. The armor has to be clean, it has to be sleek, and so we had it be overall kind of off-white with some red accents. And this would kind of contrast with the King's armor, which would be off-white with gold accents. So when we first meet the Seraphim in the comic, we are going to find them actually investigating a distress call from an outpost on the perimeter of the Dominion border with the Philistine Empire. And I'll just say that they find a mystery that sparks a chain of events that's going to lead to all-out war with the Philistine Empire. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. If you'd like to know more, come on back and pre-order the book. It will be dropping on shelves and digital in August. And up until then, we're going to be releasing weekly development blogs through our process videos. And just kind of showing you the process of how we actually create a comic book from beginning to end. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and be blessed.